This is the Last Minute Blues Podcast with Donnie, Alex, Jeremy, and Jeff Burton.
It is the Last Minute Blues Podcast, and an incredibly special edition of this podcast today. Donnie Fandango, joined by Alex Ferrario from 101 ESPN, Jeremy Rutherford from The Athletic. That part is normal.
The same.
That's how it normally goes. But we are joined today by a couple of absolutely very special guests from the St. Louis Blues, Brenda Wilbur and Steve Chapman. And big things happening in the world of St. Louis Blues fandom today. And I'm so excited to get a chance, that we get a chance to talk to you guys about it today. Thanks very much for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Really appreciate being here, guys. Great to see you.
So, first of all, I just want to make sure that you know where you are, because this seems like a really big thing that maybe, you meant to be going to somebody else to talk about. I cannot believe that we're here today and we get to do what we're here to do and to talk about. And there has been a change to the Blues logo, a change to the Blues uniform. This is something that in 2025 is such a massive deal. So we're just really stoked to get a chance to talk to you about it today as it's happening. And as you can kind of see in the background there are your new Blues sweaters, and it's incredibly exciting.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely is. And when all of these teasers have been coming out of potentially what's going to happen with this, I think anytime somebody hears there's going to be a change to the logo that they have loved since 1967, people are like, wait a minute. So for both of you, was there any stress of getting to this point of unveiling a new logo design of the St. Louis Blues?
So I'll start here because her stress level is going to be much higher than mine. I promise. She's very attuned to a lot of things in the brand that she's actually a great compliment to our entire organization on this level. For me, it's exactly what you just said. I think, first of all, we're unbelievably excited about this. And What's great about it is we kind of know what people like. We do know what people like. We've done a lot of research. This wasn't something that we did and just, we're going to decide to do this. This actually started in 2017, when we had the Winter Classic in St. Louis, and when we came out in those sweaters and the reaction of the fans to those sweaters and the reaction of people within our organization to those sweaters and the reaction of our alumni to those sweaters. That actually started the thought process, right? And then the feedback from that, and we'll probably get into some studies that we've done and some, polling our fans as to what their favorite logos are and things like that. So for me, this is like a no-brainer. It's a way for us to honor our heritage, but move forward. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the biggest part of it. So my stress levels were never high. I was excited about this. And then we bring in the implementation of the new white sweater, and we'll get into it. Just pops. It's unbelievable. Yeah. But I think it comes back to that. We're not changing the Blues logo. We're bringing forth, something that everybody loves, and kind of putting that into the forefront, while also we're keeping our existing mark and logo. It's just kind of moving to the background. So in the interest of our kind of deep dive into our heritage, which is based on music, the blues. A remix like this. This is what we're doing. We're remixing things up, and we think fans will love it. So my stress level has been. I just can't wait to do this.
I was going to say, I want to ask Brenda.
Yeah.
When I see these jerseys, I think about what Tom Stillman said when he stepped to the podium the first time in 2012 as the chairman of the team. And he said, we're not the owners, we're the stewards of this team. And we want to take this team along with the fans for this journey. And when I spoke to you a couple days ago, you guys mentioned the fans' input, and the fans like these jerseys, and this is what they wanted, and we listened to them. Can you just take us behind the scenes of, designing these jerseys with the fans in mind?
Yeah, I think a lot of it stems from, the whole brand aesthetic kind of does align with what we've seen in the Winter Classic. So the actual note that you see on this sweater was the patch on the previous Winter Classic jersey. So the fact that fans have seen it, and also that STL mark that lived on the helmet for the Winter Classic will now live on the pant of the kit. So we got to kind of see what fans were thinking as, prior to the launch, which is always really nice as well. Seeing everyone say, hey, we want to see that on a hat. I'm like, it's coming. We're really excited. But, we always saw that our fans, they love the blue note, but they just love the brand. So trying to create a whole new brand identity, that first of all, the note will always be our priority and what we focus on. So making sure that we didn't edit that significantly. There's small tweaks to it, but essentially it's that core heritage note. We've turned it into a 2-color note and simplified some of the winged elements, but it's not a complete overhaul of the logo, as Chappie said. But listening to fan feedback about our previous Winter Classic jerseys, took the note we needed to modernize it a little bit because it's used in digital format and it's been around for 27 years and digital was not a thing back then. So, you do have to prioritize for mobile use now. So creating a note that works well for mobile. And then also just with the whole brand identity, creating some marks that tie into music and the city of St. Louis. So definitely fan feedback was important. We had a jersey, bracket challenge this last season and that jersey actually won. Wow. So
really?
We're excited that, it's like, this has been in the works since we started working with Rare, a design firm in 2021. So it's been in the works a long time, but it was good to see along that pathway that fans continued to talk about how much they like that jersey. So we knew we were on the right path.
Now I don't mean to throw you both on the, do you remember what the power rankings were in terms of who was close second in that challenge?
I think that was the roundel with the arch.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
That's surprising.
I still have that one in my closet.
Yeah.
Eric Johnson's name on the back of it.
Oh, I'll be darned.
Blast from the past.
Yeah, so as we're talking about this here and having this conversation, I cannot help but think in my head as a fan that maybe I take the jersey and the logo and stuff too seriously. Because when there was the announcement or, when we started to hear that there might be a logo change, I'm like, what? Why? Who? Why? But then, when I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. I love the way that the yellow hits on the logo, on the home, and the way it just really, really pops. But how do you brand this fantastic feedback that you get? But also, this Blues fandom, we're not easy people to please. So
Especially this guy.
Yeah, probably especially you.
Change is not always fun.
No, but it's really amazing, one, how near and dear we get to these sweaters and these logos. Mm-hmm. It really is an important thing to where when you start to think about changing them, you're like, it's like it has something to do personally with me. So it's amazing to me that you have that sort of challenge, that sort of weight kind of on your shoulders as you're making this change.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big responsibility.
It is. I mean, but I will want something you just said, and you're actually right. I mean, we all agree with you. The St. Louis Blues agree with you. The fan base agrees with it. The sweater is who you are, and it's such an iconic part, never mind the blue sweater, of hockey. Bobby was always a big proponent. It's been in hockey for years. You do not let your sweater touch the floor, right? You do not let that thing touch your floor because it represents the organization. It represents who we are. It represents what we are. And if you're the fan base, we hope that spills out into the fan base. They feel the same way. So the passion for it, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, right? That's awesome. That's incredible. We're also very fortunate in St. Louis to have the fan base that we have. A mid-market town in Missouri. I'm not from here. We moved here 10 years ago. I was shocked at the level of passion for hockey. And I hope, and to your point about Mr. Stillman's, we're stewards of this organization. We hope that we've helped to grow, first of all, the sport of hockey in St. Louis and in our region, but we also hope that we've grown the Blues brand and being a part of it. So everything that you just said is I can't say that any better. It is that important to us. And so when we made this and we call it change, it's really just
enhancement.
Yeah, it's really just remixing where
modernization
we are.
You mentioned.
Well, it's funny because modernization by honoring the heritage of the St. Louis Blues, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing that we want to do as an organization. You want to, I think sometimes, and I'm not talking, this could be true of any organization. You want to honor your past, but you don't want to get mired in it, right? Mm-hmm. We have to move forward. We've won one Stanley Cup. We want to win another Stanley Cup. And we want to honor those whose shoulders we stand on, but we need to move forward. And we need to move forward in a positive way, and everybody working together to do that. And that's the mission that we've been told, and that's the mission that we've embraced. So everything that you just said, we should record that and put that out there.
I have a question too, quickly on like sort of the business side of this. Obviously, I know that the cap is going up for player payroll across the board in the NHL. A mid-market team like the Blues are always going to be looking for ways to make money. I mean, in the reality of it, we're not the Rangers, we're not the Kings, we're not in that sort of market. So when you have the ability to market new jerseys, new hats, and new things like that the people dig, that is a really, I mean, this is kind of a silly thing, I guess, to say. It's kind of a master of the obvious thing, but like that is a huge help to the overall financial kind of wellness of the organization, right? When you're being able to move a lot of jerseys, hats, and things like that. That is something that is necessary for a mid-market team, correct?
Yeah, I think so. But also it's just the fact of seeing more Blues gear out in the marketplace out in St. Louis. I know, like I said, I've been here 19 years now. But when I started with the organization, I felt like I didn't see a lot of fans wearing as much Blues gear.
Yeah.
So with this new brand identity, we have different ways to show, your fandom. It's not just the Blue Note.
Yeah.
You guys, do you think it's a good, I have some boxes for you guys. If you want to check out right next to your chair.
No one has ever brought us anything.
Oh my gosh.
This is like, I feel like I'm on the set of Oprah right
Yeah.
now.
Thank you.
Keys to a car in this.
So we have some of our new marks too that you'll see. So this is just some new ways that you can show your fandom. We have an STL mark. A River City mark, which is the trumpet. And see if you can see little elements in the trumpet. You'll see the arch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In the river.
In the riverfront, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Go.
I love too the different colors, and I know that's kind of been a thing with pro sports teams over the years. But your colors are
Getting
blue and yellow,
creative,
but here's a
yeah.
black hat, like it's perfect, like a golf hat.
Because it felt like for the longest time it was the royal blue or it was the gold.
Yeah.
And like those were the two colors. I remember as a kid, you'd always go to the store. I'd always be at Lids and I'd be like, I need a new Blues hat. Yeah. But there were just a couple of designs. And now it feels like you go and there's 18 different designs, 18 different colors.
Yeah.
So it gives you a lot more variety, which I love. And that's what I think with the Winter Classic jersey did so well. It brought out those baby blue colors and it took everybody back to be like, oh, there's so many more colors you can do with the Blues.
Yeah, and I remember one time, I live in Imperial. Everybody gives me grief, Jefferson County.
Hey,
there's
shout
a
out Jeffco.
ton of Blues fans out there, right?
Yeah.
Ton of Blues fans. Alex, you can attest to that.
Oh, absolutely.
But I will say this, a lot of times they get their hats from the gas station, and a lot of hats are still from 1992. And I saw Tom Stillman one day. I said, buddy, you got to get some new gear out to Jeffco. So I think I'm going to take my stuff out to Jeffco.
Is that on Tom Stillman or is that on Jeff?
JR also needs to just put a warrant out for himself. He's like, oh, hey, I got this new gear. Watch out for me and Jeffco. Chappie, I want to go back to something you said, because with this new design, this enhancement, you talked about kind of the new era for the Blues. And it feels so poetic that this is happening at the time where the Blues make the playoffs for the first time in 2 years. You see this young core of players, that 25 and younger. I think there's 13 guys on the team that are at that age. Was that a part of the whole process with this, of thinking it's like this might be the right time to bring a new era of Blues with the Blues hockey players?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that played largely. There's a lot of different factors. And one of the things that I think is really cool about how we're doing, we just kind of got there. I mean, we got there through not a quick decision, a lot of discussions, a lot of research. I think it's a little more coincidence than anything, but how poetic is it that all this is happening and we have this young core coming along?
Yeah.
And, and I say this all the time within our office, we're so fortunate. And Army has said this before. So, Army says, hey, the leader always gets way too much credit when things go well and way too much criticism when things go poorly. Our hockey ops department does such a wonderful job of rebuilding this organization to put us in contention to do what we were tasked to do, which is to go out and try our best to win a Stanley Cup. And so for us to usher this in with the young talent that's coming in, but the cool thing about this too is how much our veteran players love this logo. There's a great, I wasn't there, so I'm giving you this secondhand, but there's a great story about Colton doing some things with the sweaters and just loving, especially, he sees the white, the road the first time and just is ecstatic about it. But we have two funny stories, one that I'm involved in, one was with Holly. in 2017, Hully grabs me and goes, Chappie, I don't know why we aren't wearing these all the time, right?
Nailed the Hully impression too.
And that really was, I was thinking it, but at that time, I think I was 3 years into my tenure here. So who am I to, but when Brett Hall tells me that, okay, maybe we have something. And then Chris Zimmerman told me about a time when Wayne Gretzky was in our ownership suite for a game, and we were wearing these as we wear them on Saturday nights. And he turned to Z apparently and said, "That's one of the best looking sweaters I've ever seen in hockey." So yes, but then also, for us to come along at a time when we are pushing forward with this new group of talent and hoping to push our way to a Stanley Cup, absolutely. But it is kind of cool that, back to the original part, it honors, our heritage and who we are, but we're moving forward. So, yeah, great to hear you say that.
Yeah, it's the perfect combination of the heritage and new. That's just as a fan, I just absolutely love it. So a couple of things here that I want to throw on the fans' schedule. All right. Coming up on Friday, there will be a draft party at Enterprise Center, because the first round of the NHL draft is coming up on Friday. So we're going to be, there's going to be like a whole big kerfuffle there. You'll be able to check out the jerseys and things there.
Yeah, I think it's a season ticket holder event, and I believe the pick that will be made on Friday night will put the jersey on. So he'll be the first one to really put the jersey on out there for everybody.
This is funny because, you're right. There's a great event coming up this Friday. We went out of our way to not call it a draft party, right? Because we're drafting 19th in the draft. That, who knows what happens and where that goes from there.
Yeah, that's a good thing too, by the way.
Yeah, no, it is. You're right. That means that you're in the mix to get together.
Yeah.
To get together. But it is. It's our season ticket holders. We've invited them down. I think we've branded it the Summer Social, I believe, and then our season ticket department does a great job of keeping connected with our season ticket holders. So bringing them down. We've got some Monty's going to speak to them there. We've got an announcement that the league. I'm not sure exactly when they make it, but a special guest that's going to help us make our pick that night. But this is the first year that they're doing a virtual draft.
Yeah.
We'll see if that maintains itself. But we'll actually be drafting from Enterprise Center. Our hockey ops operation will be in the media lounge in there and doing all this stuff. So a big unveiling. Brenda's going to be one of the main stars of the show that night.
Nice.
We're going to let our fan base know, our season ticket holders, most important part of our fan base, and she's going to let them know all about this stuff.
We can keep it in here, but have you heard, in the hallways, Army mentioned who he might draft? Just trying to get ahead of the story here.
You guys might have that intel right now, or even if you can make the pick. Come on, guys.
Jeremy always working.
Yeah.
Always working. Always digging. Gotta love it.
Well, and then a week after, or the weekend after the draft party, the great prospect tournament and camp happens over at Centene. And I had the chance to go to that last year and do a couple of days of that. And just as a fan, I love it because it just gives me a little bit of that hockey fix as I'm trying to get through this summer before we get back to the fall and Blues hockey. It just seems like the NHL is doing a really great job these days of always having a little monument in the offseason that kind of takes you to the next thing so that the offseason doesn't seem so long.
Well, especially in some other sports where it feels like it goes dry for a couple of months, and then it's like, wait, what's going on? You fall out of the conversation. But with hockey, I think the NFL does this really well too, to where they're always kind of in that conversation with what's going on in the offseason.
And it seems like the NHL has that going on. Where there's constantly something to be talking about, even when the season is over. So folks are going to be able to check out these jerseys, purchase these jerseys. It's go time. We're open. We're ready for business.
Yeah, so we'll have our STL Authentics team store open at 10 a.m. Tuesday. But jerseys won't actually be available for sale until September. So we'll do a pre-sale in September. So that's kind of league-wide. That's kind of when they launch the new jerseys. But we will have fan gear, t-shirts, hats, polos, novelties that you can get at the team store or stlauthentics.com.
Is there going to be a wait list, Brenda, in terms of people getting on that before September if they check out how to get the jerseys first?
Pretty much if you go subscribe to stlauthentics.com emails. So if you go on there and just subscribe to our emails, and then as soon as we can pre-sell them, we will send that email out.
And Brenda, I can't imagine when the jerseys come out like they have, just what your guys' feelings are in terms of the work you've put in and the responsibility that you guys touched on, just to see the reaction. I know when I turn in a article after the game at midnight. I'm like, did I get it right? I mean, but I'm not talking about, revamping the Blue Note. I'm talking about a game that happened. Like, just you two, what's it like when the jerseys do come out and that feeling when you see the reaction from the fans?
Yeah, I think, well, it was great. Like Chappie said, seeing Colton Parayko's reaction, in the locker room when he got to see them side by side. So seeing the player reaction, everyone when we were doing the shoot for the unveiling video, everyone that saw the jerseys, they just loved them. So we've seen it so often now for so many years even that, it is kind of a mystery as to what people are going to feel about it. But as we've kind of introduced the jerseys, the branding to everyone has a positive reaction to it. So we're really excited.
So I know me personally, like anytime to JR's point, anytime you do something or you create something, you look at it 17 times and you're like, no, this is terrible. I hate everything about this. Did you have any of those moments throughout the years of looking at it while you're designing it and being like, nope, not good enough?
Well, I think the jerseys, it was pretty simple because, we had seen them in Winter Classic games and we saw the positive fan reaction.
Yeah.
But some of the tertiary marks that we created, like tweaking them, getting those to a good spot, we like this element, we don't like that element. I feel like that took a little bit more time to kind of finesse and figure out. But I think the jerseys, that was pretty cut and dry. Like, this is where we should
Can't mess this one up. Just make it bold and emphasize it and you're good to go.
Yep.
Yeah, well, one specifically that actually fits exactly what you're talking about was the STL mark.
Yeah.
We have been trying for years to find an STL mark.
Oh yeah, this one right here.
Yeah, that kind of fits the blues, right?
Yeah.
And we did a lot of different early work, and everything came back. And if I'm being quite honest, a lot of stuff just reminded us of the St. Louis Cardinals STL because that's so iconic.
Yeah.
And some of them were just plain boring, and we just couldn't ever get. We kind of shelved it because it was like I'm not even sure if we can accomplish this. And we did a great job of doing some research, and Brenda worked with this company, and they're based out of a little town just south of Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And they didn't know anything about hockey really. But it actually ended up being a great fit for us because what they did know about was Delta Blues. And so a lot of the influences that you see, and I personally love the fleur-de-lis. I think it's outstanding.
Oh yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I saw that when Brenda walked in. I'm like, oh cool. Hope that's in my box. But I got a different one, so now I'm just gonna go buy that one and have 7 different ones.
But what a great connection, right? I mean, the fleur-de-lis that's in the St. Louis flag, and incorporating the STL, which is an homage to the treble clef in music. Like there were so many things that just, how when you've been going for so long and you're like, I don't, and then all of a sudden you're like, yes,
You see it.
That's what it was. And so anyway, it was a great collaboration with them. And Brenda and her team did a great job of working with them to come out with it.
I didn't even think of that though, because anytime you see the STL logo, you just think Cardinals.
Yeah.
So it feels like it would be impossible to create an STL logo to where you don't look at it like baseball. This looks hockey.
Yeah, this looks hockey.
It looks hockey.
It looks St. Louis. It looks like it's going to catch on. And you talk about what they've done with this emblem that everybody likes. I think that when you wait and then you hit it, it just really, it's going to resonate. And the part that fascinates me about what they've done with the Blue Note and done with all these things is that not only were they trying to redesign it and modernize it, but as they said the other day, you have to do something that's going to be long lasting because you don't want to change the Blue Note in 10 years, 15 years. Like they said, it was 27 years. So I just can't imagine not only trying to come up with something in the moment that hits like you've done here, but that will hit for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm just amazed. Don't mean to interrupt you. I'm just amazed by creative people, like in general, in which that you're able to do these things, make these little tweaks here and there, and have it be just so wonderful at the end game. I would never.
Yeah, and they did about probably 20 different sketches of each of, the different logos, and we tweaked it, and I cut them out in paper, like I print them all out and put them all next to each other, and you kind of see what works well together, what doesn't. So, I mean, probably over the course of when we were working with them, I probably looked at 150 different iterations of like the tertiary marks especially, but yeah, coming up with, the word mark and the illustrative word mark and just coming up with a cohesive system. Up to this point, we basically had the note and then the word mark attached to the note. We didn't have all of these tertiary marks. So it was great to be able to kind of start from scratch and base all of that around, just the modernized note and then create all these other great marks that matched.
I'm all about hard-hitting questions, so here's mine. When can I expect the red and blue part of this jersey?
Never.
There we go. You know what? I might be the only person in the world that's disappointed with that response, but that's okay.
Well, but you know what's interesting about that too? I mean, I call it the, you're referring to the 90s retro,
The retro
right?
ones.
Which it's to us, it's the EMOS Pizza of our logos, right? And what do I mean by that? I'd never heard of EMOS till I moved to St. Louis, and it's an interesting phenomenon because there are people that just love it, right? And then there's other people that don't, right? But the people that love it, and that logo is exactly that way. I mean, hey guys, I walked in this with no dog in the hunt, right? I'm like, hey, what do our fans think? And our fans have clearly said that there's a portion of our fans that love that logo. And from, obviously, we do a lot of research on this, it's the younger fans. The younger fans who actually weren't even around when we were wearing that logo, right? So what it comes down to is there's something for everybody.
Absolutely.
What we try to find is what is the thing that we want to overall, represent the organization. That's like back to what we talked about a minute ago. Your sweater, your logo. We're not losing the present logo. I mean, we're going to wear that as our thirds this year. And so that's going to remain in our system as well. So, hockey's a little bit different than other sports when it comes to the sweater because it's really hard to make a hockey sweater. It really is. I've been doing this for 33 years now in pro hockey. I believe there's one factory right outside of Montreal that makes almost everybody's professional league level sweaters.
Wow.
Well, think about it. Think about all the double stitching, and this isn't a jersey.
You're right.
It's a sweater,
You're
right?
Yeah.
And so, for the time that it takes to do that, it's not like. On the one hand, you would love to, it's Veterans Day weekend. Let's wear Veterans Day sweaters. That's not an easy task to do, right? So we have to find the right, marks, but then at the same time, make it appealing to all the different levels of our fan base. And I hope we accomplish it, but I feel really confident in our intentions of what we're trying to do.
Absolutely.
I think the NHL has done a good job, with some of their programs like Reverse Retro. So we get a little bit creative in those avenues. Like we did the yellow one with the original, mark on that sweater that was just like a concept sweater. So that's where we get a little bit creative with our sweaters.
I love that.
I love how it works, though, too, because when you're talking about all of these great different jerseys, me and my son are going to go crazy for the sweater here.
Yeah.
My daughter, who's 16, and exactly what you're talking about, she loves that red one, and it's just so amazing kind of how it's different for everybody. The thing that's in common is there's at least one that we really, really love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's the part of the game that I always enjoy at Blues games when you look down from our broadcast booth when we're broadcasting and you see hundreds of different varieties of jerseys, different samples of jerseys, different names on the jerseys, but you just see like a plethora of them all. And that's the cool part when you just get to see what people's tastes are and the variety of jersey options that are out there.
Absolutely so. And plus, too, I mean, it's, you never know when that guy got that jersey, what game he was at. He was probably with you know what I mean? There's the story.
You can tell with the mustard stains on it and the beer stains on one side of it.
You know what? I actually have a TJ Oshie jersey that has several mustard stains on it, as a matter of fact.
Well, everybody's got a story about their jersey. And I think I was 21 years old when that jersey came out in the 90s. And my mom bought me a Wayne Gretzky retro jersey. She has since passed away. The jersey means a lot to me for that reason. And one time, Mike Crusoe down at the St. Louis Blues, he said, "Hey, would you mind if, I ask Wayne if he'll sign that for you?" Are you kidding me? Yeah, I'll go for that. And so he took it from me, and you guys know Mike. He comes back a week later. He goes, "Hey, did you give me that jersey? I can't find it." Like, you gotta be kidding me. You lost my jersey, flips it to me with Wayne's autograph. And so Wayne, who has signed more autographs than anybody in the history of sports, he signed the front, and then Mike goes, "Wouldn't you want to sign the back?" You're telling Wayne Gretzky how to sign a jersey? So he flipped it. So there's two autographs, one on the front and one on the back. But awesome. People love their jerseys.
And Mike, if you're listening, and I know you are, I'm going to be using this for years.
Give me that jersey, didn't you? I can't find it anywhere. I think Wayne took it, actually.
All right, so I want to make sure we covered all of the ground that we needed to cover here in this fantastic day. This is another one of these days, boys, that it was a pinch me moment. I cannot believe that I'm here talking about the new Blues jersey, the new Blues logo. It's just really been fantastic to talk to you both. And we are just so thrilled to have you here. And then also, too, and I've talked about this before on the podcast, just as a Blues fan, it is such a great time to be doing this. I mean, not only the team, but, one of the things that you talked about a bit earlier was, hockey in the area is everywhere. Mm-hmm. Every rink is jam-packed with kids that are playing. We saw a couple of years ago, we see every year there's a kid that's drafted high in the league that's from St. Louis. It's all of the time.
There's one this year. Yeah.
So it's just a really wonderful time to not only be a Blues fan, but to be a hockey fan in St. Louis. I mean, it's a really, really incredible time. All right, so everywhere right now, you can pre-order the jerseys. All the new merch is up for you. You go to the St. Louis Blues Authentic shop through the website. You're going to find out everything that you need, right? It's all there for you right at your fingertips, I assume.
Yep. All the info, go to stlauthentics.com and go to the Blues website to see the jerseys and all the new marks and all the cool new branding stuff.
Get these shirts, get these hats because they're incredible.
Absolutely. Season ticket draft party on Friday. Coming up in a couple of weeks, we got the prospect tournament out at Centene. So there is a lot going on in the world of St. Louis Blues. And again, Mr. Chapman and Ms. Wilburn, thank you very much for joining us today here in the Last Minute Blues podcast. We cover everything? We think we got it?
Everything.
I think you nailed it, Donnie. Once again, A++.
Wow.
100 out of 10.
I appreciate it. All right, for our boy Jeff Burton, who we miss so much and would be pinching himself if he were here with us, Jeremy Rutherford from The Athletic, Alex Ferrario from 101 ESPN. I'm Donnie Fandango. Thanks as always for listening and for watching. It's a Last Minute Blues podcast.
The Last Minute Blues podcast. Hear more at 1057thepoint.com.